YouTube family, good morning. Um, so I was just sitting here thinking about, these past 7 years, how hard the enemy has tried to steal my voice. Like he's tried to steal that more than anything else that he's tried to take from me. It's been my voice. He's wanted to suppress and silence me. You know, just thinking about the people that he strategically placed in my path throughout this journey, and how their goal was to either, you know, make me think that I was crazy, or uh try to make me insecure by always having something negative to say about, you know, the way my mind thought or the things that I would speak. They would always just try to cast it down, or make me feel like I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And these people had the sheep's clothing on. You know what I'm saying? And so, I realized that he was trying to sow seeds of bitterness in my heart. That when I did open my mouth, it would be negative things, you know. And a lot of us believers are in that place right now in our life. When we speak, it tends to be something um negative. And I know I grew up that way, very pessimistic, never really had anything positive to say. It wasn't until I got the Holy Spirit and God started opening my eyes that I started realizing, you know, there is good that comes from bad. There is good that comes from negativity. You know what I'm saying? At least that's been my experience. God truly uh does use for good what the enemy meant for evil, you know. Um but one of the main goals, if he can't destroy you, if he can't get you to turn back and do what you used to do or give up, his goal is to silence and suppress you. And he'll do that by strategically sending people into your life, you know, to hurt you, to cause trauma, to ridicule you, or just, and he'll use those closest to you, man. It'll 9 times out of 10 it'll be family members, or it'll be friends that you trusted. And these people will be used to try and tear you down as much as they can, you know. Um because they know, the spirits in them know that you have a testimony that will bring healing, that will bring, strength, that will bring encouragement and hope for those who are hopeless, and bring freedom from those who are bound and don't see a way out. The enemy knows what God has placed in you, bro. And he has tried really hard in my own life to silence me and to keep me from speaking. But look at what God did. You know what I'm saying? This, bro, just what, like a month ago, probably a month and a half ago, this channel was at 300 subscribers, and it had been that way since 2021. You know what I'm saying? And then when I got in this circumstance, when God put me in the wilderness and secluded me, and placed me living in my car, he started telling me, like, hey, listen, I need you to take those seeds that I put in you. I need you to take the wisdom that I've given you and give it away, you know. And he wanted me to start building this platform to bring his name glory, you know what I'm saying, through my testimony and what I've experienced. And so God, ultimately, what the enemy has been trying to steal from me this whole time, God has given me a place to use it, which is my voice. And I'm extremely thankful, man, because for so long I've had to sit in silence. I could never really have a real, genuine conversation with anybody that was around me, because I knew they were either monitoring spirits, or they were agents of discord. They were agents of confusion, sowing seeds of discord. So I could never really truly express myself. This season right here is the first time in 7 years that I've truly been able to genuinely express myself, and not have to worry about, you know, those around me and how they're going to feel, and what it's going to cause. And you know what I'm saying? So God is ultimately not only giving me my voice, but he's giving me a platform to use it, man. So to anyone who has subscribed to this channel, I pray that it is a blessing to you, that it is a benefit to you, that you find encouragement here, that you find enlightenment here, and ultimately that your lives be led to Jesus Christ, that you find Jesus Christ on this channel, because that is my goal, to lead those to Christ. It's not about me. It's not about anybody else. If you come here and you subscribe here, the goal is to introduce you to Jesus Christ. So I pray this message reaches who it needs to reach. God bless you.
looking for a soul, find nothing but a big black hole. Sometimes I'm looking for a soul, find nothing but a big black hole. Some days I'm looking for a place to raise my head, but the ground's away. Some days I'm looking for a place, raise my head, but the ground's away. Anywhere but here is fine to look for love, gotta taste the wine. Anywhere but here is fine to look for love, gotta taste the wine. And to just those who try all and find out. Stranger's face looks welcoming, never know what's happening. Tries to find out where it may, the harbinger of silence. Let's believe the songs we sing tell stories of those who women away there on the stair and hands behind. Anywhere but here is fine to look for love, gotta taste the wine. Anywhere but here is fine, I'm tired of, I'm losing time. Anywhere but here is fine to look for love, gotta taste the wine. Anywhere but here is fine, I can't wait to make it mine. To just those who try all and day, find out. Trying to look for love, gotta taste the wine. Anywhere but here is fine, I'm tired of, I'm losing time. Anywhere but here is fine to look for love, gotta taste the wine. Anywhere but here is fine, I can't wait to make it mine.
Welcome to another live stream. Well, we're going to talk about directed conversations, witchcraft, and Operation Mockingbird. And they're related, at least in my opinion. A lot of people have different presuppositions concerning, the whole theme of witchcraft. And I've heard people quote the scripture that involved Samuel, actually. Of course, Saul, he went to the witch of Endor, and he wanted some kind of a connection with the priest Samuel. And actually, the conjuring of him is a debate amongst the Christian community, and whether that was some kind of a trick that she was very surprised that someone actually came out and told, because in the story, Saul had basically banned witchcraft, right? And he had promoted, the discontinuation of anything involved in that within the geographical territory of his rule. But of course, after he had become the enemy of the Lord and was basically afflicted, some translations in the Bible talk about an evil spirit from the Lord, but really the translation would be more of a vexing spirit. And at that time, that was after he had deviated from the instructions of the Lord and had spared some people where he was told to wipe out an entire community. But that's another story. But a lot of people will quote and say that witchcraft is as of control. Well, the only reason that was mentioned to Saul was because he had banned witchcraft, and that the transgression of that whole thing was really the issue, right? And so, the transgression of other things involve the legal framework. And so a lot of people will say, if you're trying to control someone, you're using witchcraft. Well, I don't think that's technically correct. And I think that the translation or the exegesis, GESIS, of that passage involves that it's just nothing more than a transgression or the same penalty. But witchcraft is very specific in that it involves controlling people. There's no doubt about that. But you are bewitching them, you are deceiving them, you are even using maybe sorcery to do so. Okay, when you get into some of the things involved in that definition, which can also involve individuals seeking higher wisdom or, transcendence from some type of spiritual guru or whatever, and a combination of hallucinogenics, which a lot of people will talk about. Ayahuasca would be a pretty classic example of sorcery, where you have the shaman that takes you on this journey. Sometimes it can last for quite a while. A lot of people will reference LSD and other things, mushrooms or whatever, and that they have this experience where they come to a type of enlightenment. And so that would fit more of the definition of those things. But when I'm talking about witchcraft and directed conversations, my connection with that, and I didn't really think about it before, because like I said, a lot of people will think that I'm saying that, well, people are just trying to control you, so now you're conflating witchcraft with control, but that's not true. When people cast spells and they open their mouth, and I've talked about when you get in within earshot of a perpetrator of these heinous crimes of gang stalking, organized harassment, mind control through trauma, your mind is being evaded. You are not giving them permission. They are breaking down the door. They're knocking down the walls of your psyche, and they're just barging in. And I've mentioned before that, when an individual is sensitized, they don't, most of the time, especially in the beginning, when a targeted individual experiences gang stalking, they don't even know what's going on. They just think these people are, being weird or on drugs or having a bad day. And what's your problem? What are you talking about? What are you mumbling about? Why are you acting that way? Why are you being aggressive? And then, the things that they say and the things that they do, the environmental stimuli and the activities and emotional conditioning that is involved in that process of sensitizing a targeted individual is a type of witchcraft, in my opinion, because when you cast a spell or you bewitch someone, what do? You take them into darkness through deception. You take them into propositional tyranny with the same methodology that individuals use in gang stalking. And, when a target experiences that onslaught of harassment, all they have to do is mix in different things in their environment for anchoring, whatever that is, maybe a phrase, maybe a color, maybe something to do with your limbic system, maybe something to do with something that is out there in the media, as I have listed in the title. Operation Mockingbird involved an infiltration of the CIA after the Tavistock Institute and MK Ultra to do what? To basically bewitch, control, indoctrinate everyone. Everyone is on the radar. Everyone is subjected to that. There was over 100 operatives from the CIA in your local television station or whatever, on the radio or in Hollywood. Okay. Don't think for a minute that stuff isn't going on now. Of course it is. I guarantee it is. And even when targeted individuals deal with directed conversations or at the higher level, the theme-based harassment involving controlled programming. I've mentioned that before. That's really when targets look crazy, right? Because that's really what this is about. It's making you crazy. It's manufactured mental illness, manufactured schizophrenia, where individuals are traumatized and they experience a type of exponential stimuli from their environment and from their attackers that anchor them emotionally and psychologically to different themes where the attackers have plausible deniability and can do it in broad daylight or without others understanding what is happening to the individual. And of course, they just look like they're nuts. They look like they're crazy. If they say anything, they're just going to look like they're reading into everything. And then, of course, you have the issue of after the sensitized person is subjected to this environmental tyranny. They do. They start to read into their environment. They start to play in to the scientific equation of gang stalking. And it's very, very effective. And so you have people who have been attacked. They have been infiltrated. The words have been spoken into, through the ear gate, into their mind, into their psyche. And now they are processing information according to that invasion. It's like a computer virus. You're nothing more than a fleshly computer, right? It's like when you hear someone from a foreign country and they speak a certain way. They grew up around that stimuli. And when they began to make noises as just a small child or maybe even a baby trying to communicate with the people around them that were talking to them, and the stimuli was coming in and they were understanding and processing the information in their conceptual framework, they learned to speak that way. That's how they learned to communicate. And it's experiential. It's a type of environmental stimuli, and it runs upon a framework of fundamental foundational concepts that when an individual experiences gang stalking, those things are flipped around, right? So you would think that people would be reasonable, right? If they're talking to you and having a conversation with you, the words that they are speaking to you are not only, at least by default, supposedly truthful, but meaningful. But with a directed conversation, that's not what they're doing. When you deal with a directed conversation, you are dealing with someone who is basically playing a game with you. And there's several different things that happen to individuals who are subjected to that. And a lot of times it will involve personal information, not only to traumatize the victim, but maybe even to prick their ego. Right. Oh, we know all the things you're doing in secret. So it's like a blast of stimuli at the, the heart rate of the individual that is being subjected to this. It might even be in a room full of people. And all of a sudden, what do they have to figure out? How do they know that? What is going on? Who are these people? And then when targets are dealing with the onslaught of ongoing harassment, it just seems to be such an exponential experience that they almost believe they're on some kind of Truman Show. It seems like everybody knows what's going on, which leads to self-scrutiny. And I've talked about that, along with deprivation and isolation. Is very deadly, very psychologically traumatizing to targets. But then they're playing the game, because the first time it happens, they don't even know what the hell's going on. Oh, what a coincidence. I can't believe you're talking about it. It's just, yeah, that happened to me the other day. Or I was wearing polka dotted underwear last night. How coincidental. And then you finally catch on, and then the ego is pricked. You might feel a sense of shame. It might be personal information that you'd rather keep hidden. And I've talked about that before. There's the gaslighting involved in that. Oh, you had something to hide? What do you need? Privacy. Everybody needs privacy. Okay, everybody needs a certain level of privacy. That's why there's doors on bathrooms. That's why we wear clothing. Okay, that's why we have the Fourth Amendment. Okay, there's a reason we need privacy. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are malevolent and cannot be trusted, and will barge in to those basic fundamental rights that you have as a created being on Earth, and they will do that. The thing involved with Operation Mockingbird is that, and I've talked about this a lot, that when a target is sensitized, and by the way, before I go on, I am making a deep dive video, and it's probably going to be for members only. And I might start doing live streams for members only. You guys can go ahead and give me some comments involved in that. But it's going to take me a while to do that deep dive involved in Operation Mockingbird and MK Ultra, the Tavistock Institute, and some other things involving this, a kind of type of compilation of what everyone is subjected to, and targeted individuals are probably the most prolific examples of that type of mind control through trauma, which it basically equals control, which they found out as they were investigating that whole thing at the Tavistock Institute. They went into different types of social dynamics. I've talked about that before, and the whole idea of looking into how people are traumatized and how that affects them. And of course, what did they figure out? That equals control, right? And they can control people. But targeted individuals are subjected to directed conversations as a type of environmental stimuli that it's going to freak you out, especially if it involves personal information. And then it just goes over the top. And to other people, it sounds crazy. Unfortunately, like I said before, the individual subjected to that can have their ego pricked. And the danger now is you are processing information even more personally than you were before, along with the assumption, who knows how they are finding these things out. A lot of people have talked about the fact that targets are surveilled maybe even years before the harassment begins, collecting information, watching them, taking down data concerning the geographical locations that they will visit, the way they drive to work, the place that they buy gasoline, the grocery store they go to, maybe even other establishments that they visit. And a lot of targets will have a real hard time trying to put the logistics together as how these people have collaborated together to harass them. And sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's just people being paid, sometimes it's something that the target actually is reading into. And that's unfortunate, because that's the science of gang stalking. But the directed conversation is a very powerful tool because it has so much plausible deniability. Anyone can do it. All they need is information. And also, as I mentioned, Operation Mockingbird, you need a theme, right? And, that goes into the CIA, using operatives to infiltrate society and spin the narrative and to do other things. And when you get that many people involved in something that has a delivery mechanism, right now you're walking around with your phone in your pocket, right? They're watching everything you do. You know that, don't you? And I'm not even talking about people who just have their phones hacked. There are algorithms out there. They have created AI that is beyond anything. You don't even know that you're not dealing with a human anymore. If I didn't believe the Lord was going to return soon, I would think that it would be literally like Skynet. Literally. These robots are smart. It's almost as if they are aware. The stuff people talk about in speculative neural monitoring is horrifying because they have been looking into these things for a long time. They have been doing experiments under the radar. A lot of people talk about MK Ultra being extended. Well, of course, they're not going to stop there. They're not going to stop with cultural, possession and indoctrination with individuals like Antonio Gramsci and class warfare of Saul Alinsky. And now you have the truthers and all these people out there. But they're operatives, by the way. I'm not crazy enough to mention their name. They're very powerful people. I really believe that. Now, who are they targeting? They're the people that still have their heads screwed on. Right? And why? The same reason that there's so much sensationalism on the media platforms. When you wake up in the morning and you have that anxious feeling in your stomach and you're scrolling through your phone and you're 10, 15 minutes later, you're like, you've been distracted. You don't even know what you're doing. You might not even remember what you've listened to. And there's fear and there's anxiety and it's just one thing after another. And they're lighting everyone's head on fire and it pays. There's even a financial motive for these things. It's literally a mechanism. And when you get into control programming, for example, the theme-based harassment, when you get into these CIA operatives that invaded the media, and you can see that video. I could probably put it up on the channel. I don't know if I have it in the playlist anymore or not, where you have all the local affiliate television, news stations, so on and so forth, basically spinning the same narrative. And they're all saying the same thing. And they go from, 3 or 4 cameras and they have every single, basically across the United States of the same narrative, the same thing that they are saying. They're spinning the same thing. It's not a coincidence. It can't be. That's not possible for something like that to happen without a collusion. It's the same thing that targets deal with. Who are these individuals? How could they collaborate? How could they know the things that they know? But the theme-based harassment is the same with directed conversations. You technically, after the target has been attacked, you just have to fall within, one of several themes. It's a lot of targets talk about. They're accused of being drug dealers. They're accused of being mentally ill. They're accused of being pedophiles. They're accused of being deviants. They're accused of a lot of things, or they're just wondering what people believe, which goes into the disinformation campaign and the speculative methodology to get people involved in harassing targets, because they're it's not like they're just playing little games with these people out there that are being targeted. Some of them are dealing with that, but a lot of people are dealing with pretty serious stuff. They're being driven to suicide, financial destitution. They're wondering, they're running around trying to find solace and they can't even imagine what they're dealing with. And then they turn on the news or something like that, or the radio or whatever, and this stuff has been going on for a long time, and the themes can be there. Sometimes it can be part of the sensitization. Sometimes it can be just part of that scientific mechanism. But sometimes it's very strategic. And of course, then the targeted individual, they have no idea. They must all know. Is everyone watching me? Is the people out there on TV? There was a girl that was accused of being schizophrenic and had factitious disorder, and I watched the interview with her, and she was a classic targeted individual. And you know, some of these people literally think that they're being watched through their smartphone or through their television or even the radio that is talking to them. It sounds crazy, but you see, the thing is, they don't have to. All they have to do is sensitize a target to particular themes and stimuli and words and phrases, and the target will process that information as that it is specifically for them. They got to be watching. How would they know? But they are in a mathematical equation. A mathematical equation that is very, very scientific. And the possibilities and impossibilities that come into play, well, there ain't no getting out of that. You start playing these games with someone, not only are they going to be paranoid, they're going to come to certain conclusions. One, that they are being surveilled, that people know their personal business. You mix that in with some break-ins and other things that are very, very traumatizing, and you have an individual who's been dysregulated, their fight and flight has been activated. They are controlling your mind in every way. If they have their way, if you believe the lies and the witchery that is involved in that type of methodology, you're going to fall for the game. They're going to get you. I'm going to look into the comments to see if everything is working here. Okay, it looks like everybody can hear me, so that's good. Okay, and here's something interesting. Ultra S9PT20, I think, says, I was homeless as a targeted individual, and I went up to a church for help, and they were all part of the conspiracy. Holy Ascension Russian Orthodox Church. Interesting. I'll put that up there. I don't know. I've never seen that before. And a lot of targets will talk about, dealing with scenarios in the church or, in social settings where people are literally, somehow are we still? I had a bit of a glitch. Sorry about that, guys. I hit the wrong button. They keep changing the framework, so hopefully I'm still there for you guys to hear me. Can anybody give me a shout out and tell me that I'm still coming through loud and clear? And we'll get to what I was talking about. Sorry about that. I tried to take the comment down, and I must have hit the button that I wasn't supposed to hit. Anyway, no one has said anything, and so I'm assuming that I'm still live. And the issue, I've run into that where people have attacked me in church, and unfortunately, I've talked about this before, that the infiltration and the at least hypothetically for me, the exponential framework of the legal system of the universe involves those things. In other words, if the kingdom of darkness couldn't get anything out of going after you or geographical territories, why would they do it? Why would they go after anyone? Why would anyone do anything if there was nothing they could get? That would be pretty ridiculous. And of course, that's not the case. And so when you look at different areas of the world, maybe geographical territories, where Paul, for example, was told not to go into Asia, he said, don't go there. Or Daniel needed help, and Gabriel couldn't get to him, and Michael the archangel had to help him out because the prince of Persia was holding him back. There are geographical strongholds. And I talked about that before. When you get into this whole idea of generational curses, that's really not what's going on. But what you do have, and it's very easy to conflate that with the legal framework, is you have indoctrination generationally and an exponential effect through the legal framework, where the spiritual world has kind of a stronghold on not only a lineage, a family, but maybe even a geographical territory. And they develop and they conquer, and they come in and they set up shop. And it's just like that. And people assume that they're cursed or something. Well, that's not possible in the New Testament. But in the churches, getting back to what this individual is talking about, there has been a takeover. And Paul talked about that in Acts 20. He said, after I leave, and by the way, he was the last apostle, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. The wolves will come in, not sparing the flock, right? Introducing destructive heresies and doctrines of demons. And this is a reality, okay? And it's something that a lot of people talk about. I've heard a lot of people mention those things, and there's a lot of doctrines out there that are incorrect. But, even when you get into the Freemasons or other things that targeted individuals deal with, it's not that all the Freemasons are after them or all the church folk are after them. It is where there is infiltration, where there is a type of spiritual deception and a type of stronghold. You're going to have operatives, you're going to have agents, you're going to have manipulation, you're going to have a framework there. And anyone who has been targeted, like classic targeted individuals, you're going to have that crosshair right on your forehead. There's other people that don't know. Okay, we've talked about that before. That creates the framework of plausible deniability, right? Because it wouldn't be effective anymore. You wouldn't be able to use this strategy. And we've talked about how it's speculating on people who've been experimented on like a lab rat, to where they've been subjected to this type of harassment just to see if they could break someone down, exactly how they could control them, if they could control the trajectory of their emotions, their mind, their propositions, everything is that they can just basically use a soft kill method, an undetectable weapon, and get rid of someone covertly, right? And no one will know, because why? Because you just look crazy. And I think it was the last live stream I talked about why I was putting up all of those videos involving psychiatry. And it's not that I'm against psychology or psychiatry. I'm against the weaponization of it, because it has been weaponized. It is being used to discredit people. It's being used to control people and to drug them and so on and so forth. I'm going to go into the comments here. And it looks like you guys can hear me. Sorry if I... And Bora Bora says that she likes the holiday emojis. Okay. I think there is the super thanks and super chat available. And as I mentioned before, a lot of times when I'm talking, I'm not looking at the comments. And so if I miss something, literally, sometimes I have my eyes closed. I apologize for that. I'm more of a radio personality than I am a live stream. I could probably work my way into that, but for reasons of anonymity and what I've talked about as far as being targets and some other things, is I just don't do that. And so if I miss something, I apologize. But as long as you guys can hear me, everything's good. Getting back to that takeover and that geographical framework involving the legality and the criteria of the stronghold, a lot of targets will talk about that, unfortunately, and that's really the only way I can process that. And so I think a lot of people have experienced that. Unfortunately, for targets, it doesn't seem like it really matters where they go. They deal with this kind of thing, and it's very troubling. It's very intense. And like I said, the exponential effect of that sensitization and infiltration into the psyche and the theme-based harassment involving emotional anchoring and emotional conditioning and the CIA and other people and fraternities and infiltration and other things that are just crazy sounding. Well, you got yourself a scenario there, don't you? You'll wonder if you left the world, went to hell. Maybe you're on some kind of Truman show. Maybe you're living in a matrix. The whole conceptual framework of your reality is flipped around. I've talked about that before. That it seems like you're dying. You wonder if you've lost your mind. It depends on, at first you don't think that, but it just keeps going. And, they change. They play little games and they become subtle. And once the target is sensitized, once they are infiltrated in their psyche, the witchcraft is activated. The directed conversations have literally altered the way that the individual is processing information. And I've mentioned that before, that the solution is very simple. Get over it. Yeah, they shocked you. They did whatever they did. Get over it. You cannot try to read someone's mind or decipher what they might be saying under the surface in a type of innuendo and stay on the surface conversation, keeping your sanity, focus, and productivity. You can't do it because why? Because it defies all the logical, means of communication. If I have to talk to you about something, but try to figure out what you're actually trying to tell me, it's going to short circuit the way that I think. And of course, that's the way they want it. And of course, then they want to accuse you of being, reading into it. They want to accuse you of being mentally ill. And it's the perfect method. Well, we were talking about the football game. I wasn't talking about, what are you talking about? Oh, you're crazy. You're reading into it. Or you'll have individuals who experience that type of tyranny in their environment where they're not even really talking to them. They're having a conversation around the target that just so, happens to have a bunch of personal information and coincidental stuff involved in it, right? They might even follow you around. And I've talked about this before, that when you're dealing with that kind of thing, wearing headphones or just not paying attention to it's what you got to do. Get over it. It doesn't really matter how they have the information. It doesn't really matter, what they want. They want to traumatize you. They want to control you. They want to put you in a state of anxiety. They want to control the vector and the trajectory of your productivity and your thinking. You cannot allow that. Okay. And there was a guy, I think I mentioned this before. He was up in Canada and he took a commute to work. And he was dealing with a lot of that stuff. They would just sit right in front of him on the bus and just start in. There's no way, he's thinking to himself, there's no possible way they could be, that, somebody died in his family recently and other, this they knew everything and they're kind of laughing or whatever. He's thinking that maybe it's just a coincidence. right? And so what does he do? He just moves away from them. But guess what they did? They start following him around and talking louder. He puts on headphones. They start, making it louder. They start becoming more obvious. They start looking for the reaction. And you have to deny those things. It sounds crazy, but the plausible deniability is the mechanism. The infiltration into the psyche through sensitization is the method. And total control and anchoring and emotional conditioning through a type of spell casting, if you want to put it that way, through the direct conversation, it puts that target into the state of dysregulation and dysfunction. Right? That's what they want. You get away from those people. You laugh at them. You know what they want. Once the target gets over the fact that their privacy has been invaded, which is not easy to do, by the way, because you're wondering everything at that point. Right? There's the usage of the ego and the infiltration and the environmental tyranny is paramount in the control of the emotions of the victim. And once they get this stuff going, they anchor you to these different themes. They anchor you to different types of environmental stimuli. And then what? Now they basically own you because they can direct you however they want. They can freak you out with plausible deniability and accuse you of being crazy, moving into the gaslighting aspect of the directed conversations. Because now you've moved into the area of confusion, and they want you to internalize everything that is going on after they have dysregulated you and changed the framework of the subjective stimuli to plausible deniability. Very subtle, very aggressive at first, very, very, very aggressive for targets at first, but then it becomes subtle. Now they want you to question yourself. It's the essence of gaslighting. Did I just hear that? No. And it becomes so blatant. They become so confident and aggressive in the latter stages of that subjection that they will do something to you and deny it seconds after they do it with complete confidence on an exponential framework where they're not alone. Directed conversations are very similar to spell casting. You're using words. And even when you get into some of the Hebrew, even the sounds and the frequencies and the vibrations of words supposedly had some kind of an effect. And, when you get into the technology and other things involved in the framework of directed energy weapons and all those things, is that you are dealing with science. Like I said, you're nothing more than a fleshly robot, basically. And they use those things, and I've mentioned before, that separating technology from the spiritual dimension is a big no-no, because they get that stuff from them. It's not possible for mankind in just the last couple hundred years to have advanced after thousands of years so quickly, and right along with the prophecies of Daniel, right? And a lot of those things in the Bible have been made known. And the Bible talks about the dead begin to speak. What's that? Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a whole lot of stuff out there that's very interesting. And a lot of the individuals, getting back to that exponential takeover, maybe even in the churches, have rejected some of those apocryphal books. And some of those things, yeah, they were written later. It's been proven. But they didn't have, a means of recording everything and keeping it like we do now. And if there was maybe an invasion into a city and the books were burned or destroyed, they would have to find the sage that had listened to those stories, and they would have to recreate that whole book. They would have to recreate those scrolls and so on and so forth. And so sometimes there would be discrepancies, and sometimes the timeline wouldn't line up. But you have to extrapolate that information and look for similarities and data points that line up, multiple data points. If something has multiple data points and lines up, it's relevant. And, they didn't have CNN and Netflix and stuff like that. So they would sit around and they would go over these prophecies and so on and so forth. And when you flip that stuff around and you take that information away from people and you spin a narrative, and then you even invade the psyche more with trauma, it's almost like casting a spell. I've talked about the fact that when an individual is within earshot, that's all it takes. When you're within the line of sight and you have that stimuli and you have those other mechanisms that you have dealt with as a targeted individual, it's going to trigger you. It's going to do that. And I'm going to go back into the comments. And we're going to see what's going on out here. Okay, let's see here. And Bora Bora says that my super chats are available. Thank you. And as I said, when I get off on a tangent, I am not looking at the screen, and I apologize. And so that could be a problem in the future. I might have to turn those off or something. But I do plan on having members only videos, and I think I'll probably title that maybe Veteran Masterclass Deep Dive into the things that we were even talking about tonight. Like I said, the video that I'm working on now involves MK Ultra, the Operation Mockingbird, Tavistock Institute, and mind control on an exponential level. But maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know. I think it'll be fairly cheap if I do it. And but people have different ideas about that, and so it is. But it takes hours to make those videos, and so you have to look at it from my perspective. And I've got well over 500 videos that I've done for free that people can watch and learn. The things that I've experienced over the 32, 33 years plus, actually, of dealing with this harassment. And, a lot of targets will talk about the fact that they were targets even when they were children. And I experienced the same thing. Lifelong targets that have dealt with this stuff. And the thing is, the gaslighting is so strong, and the witchery of that whole thing is so powerful that, especially when you're a little kid, you don't know what the hell's going on. It's like when people grow up around their family and they think that, they know everything. Their parents know everything. They know everything in the world, and everybody else is wrong. And then they find out later that that's not necessarily true. But you don't know because you were subjected to that type of environmental tyranny, right? And as a target that has been dealing with this stuff lifelong, you might not understand what's happening because sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes, even as children, targets will deal with very, very evil, malevolent activity. Horrifying stuff. People talk about, satanic ritual abuse, about covert drugging, about, being more than just a black sheep of the family or some type of social scapegoat within the framework of the people around them, to the point where everything is their fault. Everything is because of them. And for some reason, they have the right to just make your life a living hell. And, it's like the scapegoat dynamic, and I've talked about that before, that people need a vessel of wrath. They need someone to vent on. They need a scapegoat. It's almost like they bond over it. And I mentioned earlier that when you get out there on the internet and you look at the material out there, the sensationalistic stuff, well, that's where people are. Mindlessly scrolling and like zombies caught up in this, rabbit hole of manipulation. And it happens to me. And one of the things that targets deal with is isolation, and anything that'll distract you from this. Sometimes it's just like, gosh, just talk to me, help me escape this mental stronghold where I can't stop thinking about this harassment. And you have to do that anyway, but people have been regulated and conditioned to that type of material. Like I said, you have the infiltration into the media. Don't think for a minute that a lot of that stuff out there is not, it is specifically designed to emotionally trigger you, manipulate you, and captivate your attention. And you happen to be carrying it around in your pocket. And I'm not condemning people for having technology. That's not the issue. There are a lot of wonderful resources out there that you can access through technology. It's not to say the Hutterites or the Amish are bad. There are certain things that they have avoided because of that. But for targets, you're not part of a community like that. You don't have the luxury of having a backup system of support in an Amish community or maybe the Hutterites or whatever, a family. And some of that stuff actually sounds appealing. I don't know if they have gang stalking in those communities or not. Could you imagine Bora Bora as one of the Amish? I'm just kidding. I had to pick on you. And they have some very interesting garb that they wear. There's a lot of them in the state that I live in. We see them all the time. They have vans and everything. They're nice people, very beautiful people. And but the thing is, for targets, you don't have that community. You don't have that support mechanism, and as a result, the only thing you have is basically an online experience, maybe listening to videos, studying material, communicating with people, online or whatever, because targets are scattered throughout the world. I don't really know anyone in my community, maybe a couple people, but they're, the drawback to being a target individual is everybody's all paranoid and everything. I'm not any different. You don't know. That's the worst part about it. Somebody is pretending to be a target or something, and then you find out they're just infiltrating your life. And so then you become twice shy, and the paranoia is exponential. And then you end up, basically all alone wondering what's going on. But you have that access to maybe my videos or other targeted individual channels or other people, a narcissist abuse, which is, they're all narcissists. Other things that are very similar, because there is wisdom, there is knowledge, there are things that you can learn, there are things you can extrapolate, and there are people that you can connect with, and you're basically forced into using those things. But they're watching every move you make. Not only are they seeing what interests you, they're seeing the things that you don't want to view, and of course, maybe even how you react to, some of that very disturbing content that they have out there to keep everyone in a state of mild anxiety, if nothing else. Because if they can control your emotions, why, they can control you, right? If they can invade your mind and use that type of witchery to indoctrinate you, to control the trajectory and vector of your thinking, they're controlling you. They're that's the essence of a handler. I'm going to go back in the comments to see what you guys are doing. Okay. All right. And Bora Bora says that Google takes 30% of the super chats. Well, they do. The thing about it, and I could probably try to move somewhere else. I just enabled all those things. the thing about it is it's a lot more convenient, and you don't have to set up all these other accounts. And one of the things that I've noticed when you try and do that, because I tried to do Patreon one time, and you know, a lot of targets, they deal with their phones being hacked and everything else. I'm no different from that. And in fact, I tried to reach out to people on the channel through harassment support group 911, and it's you know, I'm pretty sure that's how a lot of people are getting their phones hacked. I don't know, but the other thing that I've wondered is a lot of the fake targets out there will try to get a hold of people, you know, posing as individuals promoting lawsuits or just wanting an email address because they need your help or something else. Don't do that. Do not do that. If there is a lawsuit or something like that, you're going to be able to contact the law firm, and it's going to be pretty straightforward. All that other stuff is fake. We're getting back into that. A lot of people do frown on it because of that. But like I said, I don't have to set up any other accounts to do that. I just have to turn it on. And once you're set up within that framework, you don't have to worry about any personal information. So it depends on how you look at it. Okay. Just taking a look at it here. Let's see here. I'm looking for a comment I can expound on. Okay, looks like you guys are having a convo out there. All righty. And Ultra S9PT20, I think that's what it is, says, and I'll put it up on the screen again. Hopefully I won't hit the wrong button. They're trying to make me think I'm going to prison to be tortured to death on video. Interesting. I'm going to put that up there. You know, a lot of the things, like I said, involve fear and trauma, disturbing conversations. And, you know, the thing is that after a targeted individual has been attacked, those things have a lot more weight to them because, for me anyway, when I dealt with this whole thing, a lot of people would say things to me and I just, you know, whatever, you know, I knew something was going on. I just didn't know, you know, are you trying to mess with my mind or something? What's, you know, I didn't say anything. I just kind of was quiet and just kind of ignored it. They hate that, by the way. That's a great way to deal with this. But then when things started to happen in a very aggressive way, I started wondering, was that thing that they said, do they really believe the rumor? Do they believe the disinformation? Do they believe the smear campaign? Are they that hateful that they want to hurt me or something? Do they want to kill me? What do they want to do? Because they'll say those things to people because they have to trigger you. They have to get you scared. They have to, you know, it's like the stuff that I talked about before when they break into your house or whatever. They could have put cyanide in your food or something, or shot you, or, you know, used a bomb or something and used a motion sensor. And when you walk through the kitchen, you know, you're dead. If they just wanted to kill you, you'd be gone. They already broke in. They've been following you around. They could have shot you or something. Nobody would even know. But they want to play a game with you. They want to control you. They want to feed on you. I've talked about the vampires and the zombies and everything, and how these people, sometimes they just develop a type of identity through the persecution and assume the opposite of whatever they're accusing the target of. That's always interesting. And there was a comment on one of the live streams where the individuals that are accusing people of being maybe a pedophile or a rapist or a drug dealer or a deviant or a thief or whatever kind of thing they're trying to say, they're usually that. You know, the one that blows their horn the loudest. and is the most aggressive, trying to persecute. Sometimes they're trying to escape their own closet skeletons. You know what I mean? And that's something to remember. But getting back to that whole thing of the threats and everything, I've dealt with a lot of that stuff. And I know a lot of targets that have dealt with that. And my advice to you would be this: don't pay attention to a damn word of it, because it's there to terrorize you. It is a lie. It is a lie. And I've learned that through experience. I've been doing this for decades. They told me the same thing. Sometimes they would say things like that. Sometimes they would say they were going to lobotomize me. They were going to put me in a mental institution. They were going to drive me to suicide. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're going to do the other thing. We're going to give you cancer. We're going to poison your food. We're going to use direct energy weapons. We're going to fry your brain. All these things are thrown at targets within the framework of their subjective experience from that trauma invading your mind, along with the plausible deniability and the emphasis of that terrorization campaign, where they do get aggressive and they want you to be afraid. They're if I was to give you, and it's not they won't try and hurt you or something. It's not that I'm saying they won't do it. I'm just saying that more than likely, they are just trying to terrorize you, because if that's what they were going to do, they just would have done it. I used to get all that kind of stuff, maybe the workplace harassment, when all that stuff lit off. It was just, it was beyond. I couldn't imagine that, this, like, who are they getting, contacting these people? And that was before the smartphones and everything else. There's a couple people running around with cell phones, the big, huge, ridiculous antennas and stuff on their vehicles. But for the most part, there wasn't anything like that. And it just, it's all that where targets are trying to figure out who these people are and how they're getting together. It's just horrifying. But more than likely, they're just spouting off things to terrorize you, to get you into a state of dysregulation, anxiety, so they can control you. That's gang stalking 101. Okay. Oh, Bora says, what did you say about me? I said that I can't imagine you as a Hutterite or an Amish, but I was just joking. I'm sorry, Bora. Okay, here we go. And Bora says that I have not been harassed for a few weeks. Well, that's good. I'll put that up there as a type of encouragement, because I've talked about that as well. That there are times of refreshment. You think you're going to lose your mind, and sometimes it goes on and it doesn't stop and it keeps going, and you just don't know how you can survive anymore. And then you speculate, like what I was talking about earlier. I wonder if they're going to do this. I wonder if they're going to do that. Are they really going to kill me? Are they really going to do this? Well, like I said, more than likely, they're trying to control you. And sometimes they will back off just to see what you'll do. Sometimes they want to create plausible deniability and a surreal framework to gaslight you and make you think you're going crazy, right? And it's like, one day everything is crazy and they're harassing you. It might last for days, it might last for weeks, it might last for months, it might last for years, and then all of a sudden everybody's acting different. Rather than to be apprehensive, you can be like Bora and just enjoy it. That's what I've learned to do. It's in a roller coaster, right? And then you get the other time where you're, oh, this is kind of fun, and then it scares you, but you have to try to ride the wave. You have to try to deal with it, and realize that it is done specifically to gaslight you. And I've mentioned before that if you have very aggressive harassment, it's very tempting to be, and I'm not saying that it's pretty hard to enjoy something like that. I'm not saying you got to enjoy it. I'm not even saying that you have to ignore it. What I'm saying is that you have to make a mental note of these things, because it will change and they will become more subtle. And sometimes they got to come out of the box, and they really got to come and kick you and harass you, just because you're basically acclimated to the harassment at a certain point. New targets have no idea what's going on, and then they start looking for it. Then they start expecting it. Then they're processing information, and then they'll just stop. And they just sit back and kind of laugh. It's like, how you doing, Bill? Oh, beautiful day, huh? What's the matter? You look a little anxious. Are you hungry? I'll make you some food. You want me to make you a sandwich? Whoa, you're not afraid I'd poison you, are you? Oh, okay. Have a good day. That's just a tiny little bit of sarcasm in there. You probably draw it out a little bit more. I mean, that was, a minute of trying to exaggerate, the things that targets will deal with, but it is a roller coaster. But there will be times of refreshing, and I think that's from the Lord. And we just like to put that out there, to be thankful to the Lord for that, that we can have those times of refreshing, that we are pressed down, but we are not crushed. It feels like you're going to lose it. It feels like you can't go on, but of course the Lord is faithful. And I would definitely suggest to all the people out there that you need to pray and ask God. And I've talked about, when you wake up to this, you see the evil that's out there. We talk about direct conversations being witchcraft and all that stuff. It is, depending on what it is, but it is very evil at the very least. So even if you're one of those individuals who you might not believe those things, look, how do you explain that? How do you explain why people would do something like this, and how it can happen in mass, and people can be correlated and activated against targets on an exponential level? Something is happening. Not all the handlers are physical. There are spiritual handlers, and sometimes the things that targets are dealing with involve a type of extra-dimensional technology and activity. All the tech we got now, as far as I'm concerned, it came from them. And some of the things that we are dealing with are very frightening. They are looking in to basically hacking your brain. And there's a lot of different ways speculatively that they can do that kind of thing. A lot of people will talk about nanotechnology, or how it could turn you into a passive RFID chip. Speculatively, you get within the framework of RF radiation in the form of 5G, 6G, 3G, 4G. And now you're literally communicating with something, and it's like neural monitoring. I don't know if it's true or not. And then you have other things that are involved to where they don't even need that. They use something that will literally turn your body into basically a mechanism to manipulate you, and they can do it with that type of electro stimulation and control what your body is doing on a cellular level. Of course, this stuff is speculative. I don't know. This is for entertainment purposes, if you get my drift, right? And there are a lot of ways they can get that in there. A lot of people have speculated that they can put it even maybe in meth or other types of drugs or whatever, or maybe other things. But the whole idea is to control people. The whole idea is to basically have total control over you and hack the mechanisms of not only your psychological makeup and your emotions, but your neurological system as well. It's horrifying. It's everywhere. You got it. You got the Operation Mockingbird. You've got people in the media in mass. You have things involved in indoctrination and propaganda. You have a type of philosophy exponentially that has formed a type of class. Group mentality, the Tavistock, along with class warfare of Saul Alinsky to separate people. And then you have control of everyone. And I'm cooking a little dinner. Hold on a minute. I have to take a quick break and make sure I'm not burning my dinner here, which I'm basically just about ready to do. And I'm going to turn that off. Sorry about that, guys. I'm always cooking dinner when I do a live stream. And I've had people joke around with me about that, and I apologize. We had a pretty big snowstorm, where I live, and we're talking about a foot, 2 foot drifts in some places, and there's not too many people running around out there right now. We'll just put it that way. Pretty cold out, and I'm just kind of kicked back in here, at least for another day. But getting back into the live stream, getting back into what we were talking about as far as infiltrating the mind of individuals and controlling every aspect of their existence, not only through technology, disinformation, and a conceptual framework that I've mentioned before is completely filled with deception. I mean, we have normal, the foundations of our conceptual framework are accurate, but unfortunately there are people out there that do not hold to those things. The definitions of love, the definition of being neighborly or honest, they just kind of disappear out of the framework. And then you have these people getting together behind the scenes and conspiring against targets, and they use that against them to gaslight them after they've been sensitized, after they have used directed conversations on them, after they have subjected them to trauma-based mind control. And so they've literally turned something good into a mechanism to attack you. Oh, that's crazy. People wouldn't do something like that. Why would they do it? That's not realistic. What do you think? You're special? Why would the government spend all this money? Oh, that's crazy. The people at the news station, they're working for the government? Come on. Really? You've lost it. You really flipped your lid. And they'll use it against you. And the plausible deniability surrounds the framework. Okay, and we'll get into some of these comments. Okay. Bora Bora says Doc is serving targeted hash. I am. You're right. It is. It is targeted hash again. And there's actually different versions of that, though. I won't get into that. It's food, eat it, right? And we all need to be thankful. Just the simple things. And sometimes targets are taken into a place of financial destitution. And it's been very difficult to survive this whole thing. And targets will deal with that. And sometimes you have to make do, and that's good. And one of the things that you're going to learn in this experience of dealing with harassment and being subjected to this type of tyranny is that the simple things in life they're priceless, right? It's like I kind of joked around with Bora Bora, but the Amish and the Hutterites, they're family. They have each other. They might be gathering around a table of food that's a lot more simplistic than maybe the upper echelon of society, but they have safety, they have trust, they have things that we don't have, that money can't buy. And even when you get into the Bible, as far as I can tell, the communion that you have with the Lord, which a lot of people will overlook that whole thing, right? And I'm not talking about communion necessarily. I'm talking about your relationship with God, is that it's based on what? Very, very simple principles and foundation of trust and faithfulness and truth. It's not about extravagance about a bunch of toys and goodies and all those things, because it's not that God doesn't have those things. He made all those things, and all the good things and gifts come down from the Father of lights. They do, but that's not necessarily what's the most important. And I think sometimes, not all the time, we are allowed to experience these things so we can grow and experience that. And as a result, we can appreciate the things that are important and have that communion and see, what is important. And I know that it's been that way for me. And so targeted hatch, yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff, man. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have that. Okay. All right. And Ultra S9P220 says, I just want to be left alone. I talked about that the other night. Isolation is not necessarily a bad thing. When you look at how the masses are being manipulated and how, being accepted and getting affirmation from the indoctrinated masses is held up, that's not good. That's not good. But it can also move into a negative area. But of course, they want you to internalize those whole things, because they subjected you to this type of harassment, tyranny, and trauma-based mind control. And now they want you to feel like you're some kind of, I don't know, hermit or something, that you don't like people or whatever. But really, that's not what's going on. You're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to bring back environmental authority in your world, which is, you got to do it. And if you have to be alone to do it, realistically, as a target who's experiencing things where people are being manipulated on an exponential level, there's nothing wrong with that. You have to be careful. And I've gotten to that place. I'm very comfortable being alone now. And it's just something that involves your expectations and those things that they want to control. And I've mentioned before that trying to get back your life, before that that illusion that a lot of the world is living in, where they don't even believe this could happen to you, is not the solution. The solution is to grow. The solution is to become not, an island, but you are realistic and self-reliant in the sense that you are confident that you know what's going on, and that you have to establish environmental authority in the place where you live, in the community you live in, whatever. And if you have to kind of shut yourself off for a while, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And Ultra S9PT20 says they started stalking for things that this individual did when he was 16, or her 16, sorry, I don't know what gender you are, 16 years old. And now it's been years. This individual is 26 years old now. And they are using that as the framework and justification of this illegal activity. Of course, it doesn't make any sense. And I've mentioned that before. It defies all the laws of the universe. What's the legal framework that I referenced earlier? Do unto others, you want them to do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do not judge, or you'll be judged. And love, first you want to love God with all your heart, right? And it's too bad that the Lord is not here, because and when I've talked about this, the reason I'm not a political activist, and the reason I'm not looking for a solution here, is because when the Bible talks about perfect love casting out fear, it's just not here yet. And when the Lord returns, and I don't think it's going to be that far away, there will be order, and there will be sanity, and there will be an end to chaos, and that love will cast out all the fear. Okay, and then you can have those times of refreshing, but they will use things from your past to try to justify this activity, which of course is very contradictory. And I've mentioned that before, that when these individuals are judging you, they are judging themselves. I don't care if it's true. I don't care if you did something. And I've mentioned that before. What's the contradiction in that? Well, I just mentioned some of it. But there are a lot of people out there that have been, repeat offenders in things that targeted individuals have been accused of, and they're not experiencing gang stalking. I always refer to Dennis Rader, the BTK killer up in Kansas, Wichita, that he was very popular in his community. He was a deacon in his church. He was considered someone that the women that came forward would have wanted him to escort them through a dark alley. If they were going to pick anybody to help them out, they would have picked old Dennis. He had everybody fooled, which is interesting when you get into some of the speculations as far as technology and the police and the government knowing everything that's going on in your mind and everything else, because they sure as hell couldn't find him. It was a 30-year manhunt. Unless they were in on it, maybe we're all just being bamboozled. Maybe they all knew about it, huh? You hear what he did to that 12-year-old girl? Oh, man. Well, eventually we'll have to take him in. No. There's a lot of things going on. And then, really, when you get into that whole thing, I think there is technology involved. But some of this stuff, when you're just targeted, you are. And it's just like some of the people who are perpetrators involved in this activity, it's like they're blinded because they're just people. And I've mentioned that before. Even when you get into witchcraft, you get into spells, you get into some of those things that targets deal with, they're just people. Yes, they are the concubine. They might be, the axiom or the point of contact that is used to get a hold of you and torture you. You're within earshot. They're going to use the directed conversations. They're going to spew that stuff out of their mouth and infect your brain with the directed conversation. They are going to traumatize you. They're going to play little games with you. But at the end of the day, they are the puppets. They are the little agents that the handlers are using, almost like entering into a type of virtual world through a video game. They're the avatar that they are controlling. All right, and then they just hijack people, and people talk about the technology that's used for that, and they also talk about the spiritual dimension. But those people are being manipulated. The handlers are controlling them. And when targets are dealing with this whole thing, they have to remember that. And there's always a motive. There's always a reason. And you don't have to try to figure everything out. You just have to look at the inconsistencies involved in the same framework they are using to accuse you. Think about it. They are doing something illegal to punish someone who's supposedly done something illegal. Right? They have violated that legal framework and that they need mercy from God, but somehow they're not going to give it to you. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it? No, that's hypocritical. They don't have justification to do this, and that's why they hide it. That's why they use plausible deniability. That's why they try to gaslight you. That's why they are trying to manufacture the justification and hide the activity, because it's not justified. And it never will be. And it's going to come back because they need the same thing you do, mercy. And when they violate the same framework that they are accusing you of being guilty of, there should be very obvious evidence that these people should be disregarded. You shouldn't listen to a word that comes out of their mouth, period. Well, let's go back into the comments here. And Sentinel is saying something interesting here. Are they even aware that they are being hijacked like that? Is it a sort of a subconscious influence, like guiding them to say specific things and make them think it's their own idea? I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the stage. I think it can happen that way. I really do. Because you get into things like, the remote viewing, or more specifically, what is that? Automatic writing, where people, even as I mentioned, the shaman stuff and so on and so forth, or even repetitive stimuli that a lot of people will talk about, they will be subjected to, concerning the voice to skull and so on and so forth, repetitive machinery, different sounds that can be used to infiltrate, basically their neurological pathways, where they can kind of, blend something into that signal and make them hear, voices or whatever. But when it comes to people being manipulated, there's different levels of that. Some of these people have willingly joined the other side, and they have what they call subjected or subjugated, excuse me, their soul for maybe to escape harassment or persecution, or maybe for money or whatever. And I've seen those people. When you get into the secret societies, that's basically what you're dealing with. Some of them know, some of them don't. The higher levels know. The other people, they might not know, because they're just on the lower tier of that whole thing. Whether they get up in that is irrelevant, because they want a framework and an infrastructure to control the world. So as long as they have everybody with businesses and churches and everything involved, and whatever, they don't have to know everything. They just have to be involved in a way where they're part of that system. You've probably heard that. You can't fight the system, we're going to get you, or whatever. But and not everybody knows, and so they can be subconsciously activated, and sometimes they can be overcome if they are literally possessed. And but when you get into technology or whatever, a lot of people, because they, if you talk about demons or something, it's, well, now it's ghouls and ghosts, and now you just make us look like a crew. In my opinion, they use that stuff to break people down. They use technology. They probably use all that stuff. B2K, everything has probably been created and used by them to break people down. And once they get them into whatever criteria they need, especially the individuals who engage in this activity, one thing they can come in and do that. It's what I was talking about earlier. That's a type of exponential effect of the legal framework. And when people attack you or whatever, they're that much more locked in and bound up by the handlers that control them, and basically ultimately can possess them, and literally, like the comment, just control them. And I think that can happen. Sometimes it's a mental thing, especially when targets are accused of mental illness or whatever. It's like, well, people can get drawn into this because you're paranoid, or you're overreacting, or you get triggered because they've been chipping away at your sanity or whatever. And then people on the outside just look at you and they go, wow, you're whacked out, man. What are you talking about? What's wrong with you? And they believe it, and they become involved in your harassment, not because they're possessed, not because they're part of it, because they've been indoctrinated and they're just part of the infrastructure and they don't know it. Oh, I don't know if you guys heard that. We got a dog barking outside. Oh, he's doing a super chat right now. That's old Flip Flop. I don't know if you can hear him. Oh, Targeted Pad, welcome to live stream. Oh, it's Targeted Patton's birthday. Well, a shout out to Targeted Patton. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, brother. I'm not going to sing for you. That, insult to injury, brother. You do not want to hear me sing, man. But, we just like to throw a prayer out there for Targeted Patton that he'll have a blessed and happy and relaxing birthday and a safe night out there in Pennsylvania. Thanks for coming in. Okay. Alrighty then. And New Neo 220 says they are slaves to the system. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what happens. That's what they become. That's exactly what they become. And unfortunately, that's that framework that people get caught up in. Bora Bora says, "Is it really your birthday, targeted pattern? Or maybe he's just trying to tell everybody that he's beginning his butt kicked and he's turned around and tonight it's his birthday. No, I think it's really is. It's really his birthday. Happy birthday, targeted pattern. Isn't that like that? A lot of targets will be, it's your birthday today. What do you mean? Whap. And it's like, well, thanks. You know, that's the first thing you experience when you come into the world. A nice little slap. You know, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Happy birthday, brother. That's why I don't tell anybody about my birthday. I've, I've become apprehensive about that. Some of them just do it just for fun, I think. Yeah, a lot of targets will talk about that they will use holidays and birthdays or whatever, and they'll just because the conceptual framework is that this is supposed to be my day. It's my birthday. Sorry, they'll come in and try and mess with you, or it's Christmas or something, and they'll like just give you a big bag of coal and run over you. And they like to do that. And some of the stuff, even when you get into the world wars and some of the most horrible things, when you get into the psychological warfare involved in that, they will pick holidays, kind of like October 7th when the Hebrews were attacked up there, and I think it was on one of their holidays. They do that purposefully, right? And they do that. It's a beautiful Christmas day, and they'll shoot off the missile or whatever. It's just, they know that, and they do it to targets on an exponential level. Okay. All righty. All righty. Oh, well, that's nice. Targeted Patton is thanking me for doing the live streams. Well, I appreciate, the gratitude and so on and so forth. And like I said, I'm going to be probably doing some exclusive content. I don't know if that's going to bother people or not. You go ahead and put your feedback in the comments or whatever. Of course, tonight that's not the case. And but I am making a video now. I'm going to do a deep dive into mind control, into all the things that I've actually kind of touched on all of those things. And I'm going to try and do a little bit more of an an in-depth deep dive into that, because everyone is a target. It's not just targeted individuals. And so understanding the framework of that whole thing is very important when you get into MK Ultra and all that stuff. Operation Mockingbird, the cultural possession of Antonio Gramsci, and what's going on and how we got here. It's just beyond. It's wild to fathom that. But I'm very grateful to hear people say that they've been helped by these live streams. Like I said, I've got well over 500 videos, and so if nothing else, you can binge watch. I think the channel started, I think it was July 3rd, 2020. So it's all for you. It's all you. Okay. I'm just looking through here. It looks like you guys are talking about gathering evidence and recording the perps. Sometimes that's the only way you can stop them from attacking you. It's like they know. It's creepy. One of the things that targets will talk about exponentially is, that happened to me. You think it's just something that's going to pass by you. If you're a new target, don't underestimate this stuff. And by the time you start trying to get evidence, they'll just switch. They won't do it anymore. They won't be aggressive. They'll use all that sensitization and the scientific equation involved in that plausible deniability. And there you are looking like a nut, making videos of people, whistling or, doing whatever. And they've got all the plausible deniability in the world. Before, they would come up and literally say things to you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to drive you crazy. We're going to give you cancer. We're going to lobotomize you. We're going to kill you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then after they freak you out, then they use that theme-based harassment with the stimuli that's injected within that anchoring with the emotional conditioning and the trigger points that are used to get a target individual to process information differently. And they just kind of sit back and watch you, ruminate. It's horrifying. You try to get evidence, and it's like they know. It's weird. There were other individuals who were talking about when they started carrying firearms that people backed off. Well, I would imagine they would. But I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. And I've talked about that before because they want you to get depressed and break you down eventually. And so I'll leave that to you to decide whether it's okay for you to have, weapons. And I've also referenced that non-lethal or less lethal options are available. I think the Grimberg is a pretty powerful, less lethal. I think it's a CO2 powered pistol. And just to give you an idea of the kind of power that thing has, a paintball is usually around 10 to maybe 15 joules of energy when it hits someone. And I think the Grimberg it's damn near 40 joules. If you shoot somebody in the chest, you can literally kill them with that thing. But, you're not going to end up getting depressed and, using it on yourself. That you probably just really hurt yourself. And the other benefit is that if someone is trying to bait you into a scenario, and a lot of times that'll happen, if you do have to defend yourself, you're not going to have to kill them. And if you have a body cam or something, then it's not your word against theirs. And so it is important to try and do those things. And I've always been very, positive and, hoping someone would get evidence, because some of the videos out there, it's far and few between, but some of them really make you wonder. It's like that was definitely harassment. And sometimes, like I said, it's people being sensitized, but anyway. Okay. All right. Well, guys, it's getting late, and like I said, I had to come in here and let you guys know that the channel was probably going to be having some exclusive content, and to reach out and I don't know if I'm actually going to do it or not yet. We're going to have to find out. But I want some feedback from you guys. There'll be content for everybody. Like I said, there's well over 500 videos, and I'll be doing things that are not exclusive to members and so on and so forth. But it does take quite a bit of time to make some of these videos, and I do appreciate individuals who help support the channel. By the way, I put the link into the description for those that are worried about that 30% cut that Bora Bora talked about. It's like, I'm not asking anyone to do anything. I'm simply, just trying this whole thing out. And I might actually, get rid of those things. I don't know, because it's been 5 years that I've been doing this channel, and I haven't involved any of those things. So some people look negatively upon it, but at the same time, they'll order food or go to a restaurant and spend, $50 on a meal when I'm offering them content and decades worth of experience, spending hours working on videos and research. And it's basically for maybe the price of a Starbucks cup of coffee. But like I said, feedback would be appreciated. And if nothing else, like Targeted Patent brought up, I enjoy helping people. And one of the things that I was hoping for, especially when I created the harassment support group 911, is to contact people and because it's lonely as a target, and to try to deal with that isolation and deprivation as part of the methodology that targeted individuals deal with. You're deprived of affirmation in a lot of different ways. And a lot of targets will talk about being single, being sexually frustrated, or being socially stifled, and all those things. And it's very confusing. And sometimes the only light at the end of the tunnel is online communication and affirmation from maybe a channel like mine, or maybe communication and comments from people like you. I'd like to thank everyone who's come in here and acted like an adult. The other bonus about having members only live streams is that I highly doubt a perp would become a member. But then again, you just never know. At least if nothing else, they had to buy you that cup of coffee. I'd like to thank everyone for helping support me and the channel. God bless. Be good to yourselves. Be safe.
Rex reads the law like a fortune cookie, skips the parts that make him look rookie. Courtroom's quiet, rules on the wall. Rex waves them off like, nah, not at all. He's his own lawyer, client, and fan. Cross-examines himself like, yes, I can. Judge says order, Rex says why. Thinks procedure's just a state of mind. Oh, Rex, king of make-believe. Practicing law like it's improv week. Facts don't matter, rules are fake. Every loss is someone else's mistake. Gets caught in a lie, trips over the proof. Still blames the system, never the goof. He cites common sense instead of a case. Calls it precedent with a straight-faced grace. Deadlines pass, they're flexible right. Files at midnight, shocked by the strike. Discovery hits, Rex starts to sweat. Claims I meant that when he's cornered and met. Contradict himself 3 times a page. Calls it strategy, nah, that's just rage. Oh, Rex, legal wizard supreme. Arms with mirrors, calls it a team. Imagination's his statute book. Reality's the part he never took. Every charge misunderstood. Every ruling, they just wish they could. Evidence talks, Rex talks louder. Facts walk in, Rex pulls a shroud over when the record plays his greatest hits. He says, out of context, classic bits. He justifies wrong with a fairy tale spin. If I believed it, how could it be sin? Writes motions like fan fiction lore, then acts surprised when they're shown the door. Blames the clerk, the judge, the pen, the lighting, the air, the lesson, repeats the class. Oh Rex, hero of your own show. Lost in a trial you don't even know. Rules exist whether you read them or not. Truth doesn't vanish 'cause you forgot. Caught in your lies, still swinging aloof. The only thing missing, self-awareness and proof. So here's to Rex, bold and untrained, defeated by basics again and again. Courtroom lights dim, the verdict's a mess. Turns out the real case was Rex versus common sense. Rex reads the law like a fortune cookie, skips the parts that make him look rookie. Courtroom's quiet, rules on the wall. Rex waves them off like, nah, not at all. He's his own lawyer, client, and fan. Cross-examines himself like, yes, I can. Judge says order, Rex says why. Thinks procedure's just a state of mind. Oh, Rex, king of make-believe.
Everyone else can. You're just a biter! You're just a Everyone else can say you're just a biter! You're just a biter! Everyone else can say you're just a biter! You're just a biter!
Everyone else can say you're just a biter.
Eastern chocolate.
Hey Joe, where you going with that ice cream cone in your hand? Hey Joe, I said where you going with that rocky road in your hand? I'm going out of stick it, come out of space. I caught him messing around with my executive plan. I'm going out of stick it, come out of space. You know I caught him messing around with my executive plans. That ain't too cool. Shot. I heard Joe. I heard Obama made you step down. Have to step down now. I heard Joe. I heard Obama made you step down. You didn't stand your ground. Oh no. Yes, I did. I stepped down. And then Kamala made a mess of this town. Yes, I did. I stepped there. And then that Kamala made a big mess of this town. I gave her the job, and she's sucking up big time. Not a joke. Hey Joe, say where you gonna run to now? Where you gonna run to? I hey Joe, where you gonna run to now? Where you gonna run to? Well, Dick, go way back east, back home to Delaware Beach. Yeah. I'll go way back east, back home where I can be free. They gonna find me. Ain't no hangman gonna, he ain't gonna put a rope around me. Now Joe right there. Hey Joe, you better run on down. Goodbye, everybody.
Aaron Cox is actively involved. He's a veteran of the Coast Guard. He used to be in the Coast Guard.
Not a joke. I was 5 and she was 6. We rode horses made of sticks. I wore black and she wore white, and I would always win the fight. Bang, bang, she shot me down. Bang, bang, and I hit the ground. Bang, bang, dead off the sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down.
Mr. Detective Man. No.
Seasons came and changed the time. I grew up in colder mine. She would always laugh and say, remember when we used to play bang bang? And she shot me down, bang bang, and I hit the ground, bang bang. Dead off the sound, bang bang. My baby shot me down. Oh my baby, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh, oh, yeah, yeah. She's
I got jobs
now she's gone, I don't know
so
why.
better.
And I didn't even say goodbye. Oh, sometimes I sit and cry. Didn't even have the time to lie. Bang, bang, but she shot me down, bang, bang. Oh, I hit the ground, bang, bang. Then I was sound, bang, bang. My baby shot me down. Yeah, yeah. Oh, she shot me down. Bang, bang. And I hit the ground. Bang, bang. Bang, bang.
I've got doxes on all you bitches, so you better beware.
Thank you.
That's the serious level of criminal level. Yeah. The others.
Let's better calm down in that chat room. How about your damn grandmama?
Say that, you said that.
I gotta go to the can, man.
Other members of the same group are doing
2:28 p.m. my time, Central Time.
Own it, Clovis.
So at 3:28, at 3:28, I want my proof. At 3:28, I want my proof that I talked shit about you while Kim was taking me to court. I want that fucking proof.
I will share with you privately. I will not do it publicly because I respect
That's fine.
you.
That's fine. Okay, 3:28. I want it privately shared with me.
Because I think that you. Come on, Clovis.
No, Eric, you come on. I'm on your panel and you're calling me out like
Clovis,
this. I have
you won't even let me finish this sentence.
I have every fucking right in the world to have every right, Eric. This is the last time you're gonna fucking break my heart.
So you don't even remember what you said about me, is that correct?
What?
That's what you're saying. You don't even remember the shit you said about me.
Remember when I begged for you to stay? Remember when you up and walked away? I told you this day was gonna come, but you just wouldn't listen. You're too dumb. Get off my porch, get off my lawn, walk down the street and just be gone. 'Cause friendliness don't live here anymore. Forgiveness don't live here anymore. Vengeance is all that I have in store. 'Cause baby, this is love and love is war. Get off my porch, get off my lawn, walk down the street and just be gone.
WLRP, Colorado City, Utah. Roy Potter's favorite station down by the creek. Just ask your sister one. She'll tell you keep it sweet and keep on LARPing.
Touch people with that. First impression of being positive. All right, all you crazies out there. Gonna have all types of fun tonight, like boot camp, but for the geriatrics. What you're gonna do is you're gonna have to do a music review. I was actually thinking about doing a funk fleet on Geriatric Quest. We'll just call him Jerry, since he wants to call me Jay. Hey. What's happening, Shizzle? Respect. I actually gotta talk like this because all of a sudden my other microphone just went out. But that's why you got backups for the backups for the backups. Since year 2000, MFs. So I guess we're gonna throw it out like this tonight. Oh man, we're stuck in slow-mo. You know, some of y'all thought I had lived in Sedona. Do you know they actually call that Slow-dona? The reason. It's like this geriatricville around here. Smells like Fritos, but it's like grows up into your toenails like Mr. Quest. Bet you anything. That from under Cheetos smell. You know, it's like a dumpster fire all over the place. Every sector. You don't want to blazing scar. You want to know why there's so many fires going? Because I'm not lighting them. But I'm trained to put them out.
That's right, bitches. We're gonna throw it down tonight. We're gonna do a music review. Have fun with it. I'm gonna try to work on my freaking microphone over here. I think I just gotta plug it in. Seriously, my dog just came right through here. He's like, I'm gonna crash all your shit. And he did. I think he took out one of my cameras. No one take credit for it. It was the dog, okay? It was. affiliates think they can time travel and shit like that, play the video games, and they thought they doxed my bathroom earlier today. I mean, that's funny. That's funny. But you know what they won't dox of mine? Actually, my music. Maybe even play my music. Well, we're going to do a music review tonight of the geriatric band from the retirement home. Have fun with it. We'll just, oh yeah, totally destroyed. Exposed. Well, I mean, he could have just opted like JT Colfax and gone and get the DNA sample and everything would have been fine. Been exonerated. It would have been funny hour. Man stepped up. Been the example of his whole community, especially at Fellamon. I was trying to look for the screenshot where Fellamon was like simping to him in his chat room. It's the geriatric retirement club with Nick Cook on the bass. Idiots. Oh yeah. Dox the shit out of him. You know what? You know who's really gonna dox the shit out of him? This lady right here.
I've got doxes on all you bitches, so you better beware.
That is the queen of the Superfan Club. She's been almost a Superfan as long as Spamton. Spamton, I mean, I'm telling you, he can really do it. But you know what? I'm wondering who else has been like a super fan. I mean, we just played the clip. The Clovinator's been a super fan. I wonder if some of the secretly been watching the Mr. Cox. Some of them. Even though they gotta say, "You don't watch you stupid." Right? They will be when we're reviewing their music. Ain't gonna review mine. Right? Well, I mean, if you want to shoot ammunition at me, I'll just eat it right up and spit it back out at you. We'll review some music, and we're about to. We're just getting warmed up here. All right, I'm going to check the microphone. I think I'm just unplugged over here. I'm going to play a clip real quick. It's all connected. They're all in there. They're all in there. Remember those days? I'm sure some of you do.
We were live. Other members of the same group are doing the stalk the police. They weren't, Aaron Cox's friends were not interested in just being ready with a camera in case the police get brutal. Anyone can do that and should do that. If you see the police, doing something, you happen to be there and you happen to have a camera, go ahead and use it. But they do something quite different. And Aaron Cox never could answer this question when I said to him, why was your friend outside the Naval Air Station down here taking film of
wait a minute.
license plates going back and forth?
Whoa, wait a minute.
That's not police corruption. On top of it, I watched some of these people. We've got one down here now, likes to go around. And he goes into all the small towns around this part of Texas. And into all the small towns around this part of Texas.
Oh, really? Huh. What's that? I'm doing so much over here just to run a show. I don't get to sit in front of my computer and watch the chat room. I mean, I like to do that. I got other stuff. I mean, I like to do other stuff, not just sit there and lens lick. You know what I'm saying? But going to small towns in Texas, let's just catch that again right there.
It's not police corruption. On top of it, I watched some of these people. We've got one down here now, likes to go around. And he goes into all the small towns around this part of Texas. And I watched him. He goes up to a cop who's just standing there, and not even just cops, even just rent-a-cops, small cops, whatever. He'll go up to anyone with a uniform.
Whoa, wait a minute. She's trying to say...
Just being ready with a camera in case the police get brutal. You can do, anyone can do that and should do that. If you see the police, you know, doing something, you happen to be there and you happen to have a camera, go ahead and use it. But they do something quite different. And Aaron Cox never could answer this question when I said to him, why was your friend outside the Naval Air Station down here taking film of license plates going back and forth in the gate?
You know, I wonder what good friend that is, first of all. I mean, she could never point that out. It sounds like, you know, a spam ton mixed with a momtograph operation. No shit. Probably loud as shit right there. Okay, so anyways, yeah, where they like to make videos with shit on fire like an arsonist does. Man, I was blowing you guys out. Yeah, I got that mic. I finally got this microphone back up. I just had to. Seriously, my dog just came right through here earlier. It's like, oh, I'm fine. You're gonna go live instead of hanging out. Here, I'll bust your shit up then. No shit. It was like that. Well, I gotta do shit too. I got the adult over here. I gotta do some adulting.
WLRP, Roy Potter's favorite station in Colorado City, Utah.
Oh, I had to get our plug there. Of course, the second rounders. The second rounder line of bench warmers have come through the chat. Orange, Shelton, yeah, Orange. You're not here, Shelton. Oh yeah. We'll do it. That's the new whoa. Very suspect things going on in the chat room. Numbers going up and down. People needing to rage quit. Having no idea. It's too boring. Just got no idea. Should we do the funk flea today? It's gonna find my right settings. I think we're like 3/4 of the way there to do a funk flea on momtograph. Or momty. Right? Dude, who talks in somebody's bathroom? I mean, why can't I just do it? Why can't I do it first? I don't mind doxing myself. I've been doing it since 2016. Here's a little breadcrumb. And somebody's like, oh, we know it. We're coming, cock! SuperFans. Yeah, had the Canadian Cup crew go down. Man, earlier. I mean, at least fires are going out there blazing Scar. She's trying to say, I fires everywhere. You can't keep contained. Oh, really? I'm not the arsonist, motherfucker. I'm not the one on that team hanging out with the arsonist. And another, yeah, dude, I mean, well, yeah, we'll go through it. Are we getting close to do this music review? We got a grand music reveal, everyone. You're gonna just love this. Of this geriatric cuck band. Read the title. Really wanna, I challenge you. I'll play your music, you play mine. I mean, it'd be a good swap. You know what I'm saying? As bad as it is, make fun of it, please. Just have fun with it. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't need to be all serious about it. Oh my God, I'm gonna I got dark soul. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah, I'm in a mood today.
Jeez, that was too loud, sir. Wrong clip right there. Right there.
I've got doxes on all you bitches, so you better beware.
That's Cowzette right there. She's the president of the queen of chaos of the SuperFan club. Right, you're right. Mom T, no, in this, hey, okay, if this guy screws up one more time in here, you don't